YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles. Today I got something really exciting to talk about, and that is we're going to review one of the latest thermostats that's out there. And thermostats are a very important part of reptile keeping, especially if you're running full racks like this, you know, or even one cage. I think a thermostat is very, very important. And let's be honest, if you're going to keep snakes like, oh, I don't know, like this guy here, and let's say this girl here, come here, baby girl. And you're going to hatch beautiful babies like this little one here. Oh, look at that. Wouldn't you want to make sure that their temperatures are spot on? Wouldn't you want to make sure that their care is the best possible? I know I would. So how do we accomplish that? Well, the best way to accomplish that is with the thermostat. Not all thermostats are created equal. And today, we're going to put a brand new one to us to the test. We're going to kind of see how we like it, set it up, see what all we can do with it. And but first we got to open it. So what we have in our possession here, I already cut the tape so you can see, we don't have to see me cut stuff, but it's a brand new HERPSTAT 6. Now this is the granddaddy of all HERPSTATs. So let's see what all comes in the box. 1, power cord. 2, these are nice right here. And this is something, you know, we've used HERPSTAT for a while, and we'll show you some of the other HERPSTAT line, but they've now switched to where they're using the steel tip probes, which is great. Because my only complaint previously about any of the HERPSTATs I've had was it had the plastic tip probe, and over time, moisture would get into the way we set them up, and then the probe would fry out. And once it dried out, it'd actually start working again. But it would kind of have a probe failure occasionally because of moisture in there. These shouldn't be as susceptible to that. So you get 1, you get 2, you get 3, you get 4, you get 5, you get 6. And then, of course, you get the brain unit. So, we're going to set all that up, and we're going to show you how it works. But before we do that, before we set that up, we do got to say thanks to a few people out there. And we're going to start with one of our Zeus-level Patreon supporters, and that is Justin M. Thank you so much for signing up. That helps us greatly. And also, we have some Aries-level supporters who have met the requirement for... They've been here a while, basically, and that's Chris Smith and Ben, I'm going to mess this name up, Steinley. We appreciate that so much. And then also on our Apollo level, we got a whole bunch of them because you guys are awesome. That's Robert Brisbane, Tim Lotman, Fleet Street Fatality. They have their own Patreon channel. Check that out sometime. Tony Edwards, John Chandler, Kristen Ward, Chris Stacker, Nikki Elkington, Michael Noe, Noel Lopez, Alan Palmquest, Libby Bell, Kevin Curcio, I know I'm going to mess that name up too, Zachary Mahoney, Rick Stewart, Jeremy Anschwitz, Daniel Cabrera, and Amanda Rodriguez. I want to say thank you to each and every one of them because of your support is why we're able to do what we do. Now, let's get down to business. We won't make you watch this whole part. We're going to set up. We'll come back and show you how it works. Alright guys, let's take a look at this HERPSTAT 6. I'll tell you what I love about it. First, let me show you the whole display. So what you can see is you can run 6 probes at once. We're currently running probe 1, 2, 3, we have 4 and 5 disabled, and we're running 6. The reason 4 and 5 are disabled is they're reserved for racks we haven't filled yet. So those are disabled on purpose, but they will be used to fill this. Kurt, just kind of show this whole wall right now. That one thermostat is running this entire wall of racks, which is really nice because it kind of will end up cleaning up everything. Of course, it's kind of a wreck up here, so we've been wiring it up, you know, but I'll go through the next few days and kind of organize all that. But a couple cool features, let's take a look. So this can also do humidity if you want it to. I don't use it for humidity, I simply use it to control temperature. So you have 89.2, 89.2, 89.8, 88.1. They're all coming up to heat to be set at 90. This thing will also alarm if it gets too cold. It'll alarm if it gets too high. The beauty of HERPSTAT is, let's say something fails. And I have had a probe failure before. Remember I told you, on the old probes, not these new styles, we had a failure. What would happen is it shuts the heat off. So when it senses any type of failure, whether it's a probe malfunction, fuse, whatever it may be, the heat shuts off, which is good. Your reptile will survive a lot better dropping down to room temp than it will cooking to 140. So having it where it's a fail in the off position is what you really, really want for your thermostat. It's one of the reasons why I went with HERPSTAT originally. The other thing about that too is not only will it fail in the off position on these 6s, but each probe is fused separately. So each plug-in in the back is fused separately. So if there's a problem on probe 1, only probe 1 shuts down. Probe 2, probe 3, probe 6 will continue to run. And what's running is probe 1 is running those entire 2 racks. These 2, or this one will be probe 2. These 2 will be probe 3. This is probe, or excuse me, I went backwards. Got something new. So these 2 are probe 1. This is probe 2. If you were running, the only knock I have on going with a 6 over like a 1 or a 2, and it makes sense, it's a bigger unit, but it runs less, it runs more total wattage, but it can run less wattage per unit. And one thing you don't want to do is put too much wattage to it. I want to say this tops out around about 375, 380 per plug-in. So I couldn't run 3 racks on it without being really close to the edge. So we mostly ran with 2. So these 2 are 1, this is 2, these 2 are 3, these 2 will be 4, this will be 5, and these 2 are 6. So that's how that whole thing is going to be set up. A few things. Let's say you needed to set one up. Let's say we were going to turn on probe 4. So I would just simply hit enter menu. This has all the different ones. We'll go to output 4. Remember, it's disabled right now. Let's say we're going to turn it on. Put it in a dimming mode. You have dimming and you have pulse. Dimming is going to kind of work its way up and work its way down and find that. Pulse will be more of an on-off, on-off. I prefer dimming. So we'll select that. It's telling me the mode has changed. It's going to go back to default settings. So we have the different modes we can change, which we just did. Day temp. Let's say our day temp needed to be, look, you can go in tenths of a degree. Let's put it at 87 point, well, we'll put what I put for ball pythons. We'll hold that down. We'll take it to 90. Okay. Boop. I could run a night cycle. Pick what time it starts, pick what time it ends, pick up the temperature. It also has a ramping feature, which will let me adjust how long I want it to take to get to that night temp. We'd have to turn that on first. We're not going to run a night one, but you can do it if you have one where you want to be warmer in the day, cooler at night. You can turn on high-low alarms. We're going to leave those off because it's going to make an annoying beep all video if we turn them on. So we'll go back there. If you're running a light, you can run a basking light. You can also do max power. And you may think, well, what's the point of that? Well, if you have a rack or like our personal incubator, which can get way too hot if we let it, I believe my incubator on my HERPSTAT in there is set at like 28% max power. So what this would do, let's say I set it at 50, okay? And let's say this rack was capable of producing 200 watts. This now will only let it get to 100 watts of power. So it won't let it, and why that's important, if it can get overpowered, then as this thing calls for more and more heat, then it shoots way up, and when it turns the heat off, it's still warming. So sometimes you have to dial that power back, and that is a really great feature for getting those temps dialed in. It's one of the reasons why our incubator works so well is because of the thermostat we use. So we got that all set up. We exit menu. Let's see what this thing's going to say. I know what it's going to say. Takes a second. And look, it says missing, probe missing. And you hear that beep? That's actually the alarm. That's an alarm telling me, hey, idiot, there's a problem. And it says 4 missing. There's no probe plugged in. So it's recognizing that probe is missing. It's setting an alarm to tell me it's missing or failed. And it's putting no heat to it. So we'll simply go back in the menu. And we'll just go ahead and turn that off, right? You do that by going right back into mode, hitting disabled, and we're done. Now, the HERPSTAT 6 is great. I love this thing, and I'm so thankful that they wanted us to review it, and they were kind enough to send us one to play with. But let's say you don't need a HERPSTAT 6, because when we first started, you know, most people get into ball pythons, they don't go and buy a HERPSTAT 6 and buy as many snakes, but they may end up getting something like a HERPSTAT 2, which is one of the things we use. We have this really cool red line here, and I'll show you this one. You can also get it without the red line in the blue. These are basically the exact same unit, okay? The only difference is, and I mean the only difference, is this one has this cool translucent case, and it kind of has an LED glow to it. It's pretty cool. So if you want something that looks kind of neat, you can go with the red line. Since it looks cooler, we're going to play with it today. Price really isn't a huge difference in those. One thing I like about going with 2s, 2 over even the 1s, is you get 2 thermostats for the price of 1, basically, slightly more than 1. And granted, these are not cheap thermostats, but you see why they're not. They work so well. So you just simply plug that in there, I dropped a cord just so we could do this. Apparently I dropped way too much cord. You plug it in here. Boom. And there you can see the LED glow feature I was talking about. Okay? So now your HERPSTAT is on. Of course, it remembers the previous settings and it says probe missing and then it says probe disabled. So if you wanted to put a probe in there, say we're only going to use one output. On the back of this unit, it'll say output 1, output 2. You just simply snap that in to output 1. You can hear the beep stopped. And then what's it reading, Kurt?
76.3.
Cool. We'll warm that up here in a second. Now, if we were going to put heat to this, you plug your heat source into output 1 right here. You don't plug it into the wall. Plug your thermostat into the wall, your heat source into your thermostat, your probe into your thermostat, and then when that probe gets introduced to heat, like my hand, or even better yet, we'll put it up here by this light bulb, you're going to see that start to go up. How much power is it calling for right now?
17, 18%, 19.
Okay. Is the temperature going up? Really not much, 'cause I'm using an LED bulb. We'll put it in my hand, see if we can't warm it that way. So what that HERPSTAT will do is as it's sensing that this isn't warm enough, it slowly ramps up the power. That keeps you from having a huge temperature spike and then cool down.
89.
Okay, so 89 temperature
90.
or 89 power?
It's at 0 power at 81 or 91.
So now it's got to 91 degrees and it says 0 power. The reason it's reading that is because it's in my hand. If I were to drop that probe and it start to cool off, you're going to see it get below 90 and you're going to see that power start to ramp up. And that's how that would dial in there. Now, a couple things while that's happening I want to tell you. We have used HERPSTAT, I won't say from the beginning. You know, I did use some of the on-off thermostats that, you know, you'd buy at like a pet shop or things like that. And they would work. They worked okay. You know, I also had one fail. They didn't work as well. You know, my temperature flux would be like 88 to 92, like a pendulum. And then I got my first HERPSTAT, and it was like, holy shit. I mean, it is dialed in. Once you get it set, it just kind of sets there perfect, which is what I want for my animals. And then HERPSTAT 2 will talk about how to mount a probe. You know, and a lot of people will tell you that you have to mount a probe on the heat tape and attach it to the heat tape. I hate that. I absolutely hate that because your room temperature is going to change, things are going to change, and then it's not going to always be right. Plus, what you set this at won't be that. What I do, and what HERPSTAT also recommends on their site, they give both ways, is we mount the probe in the tub. And you've seen how we do that. We simply melt a hole or drill a hole, put it in there, attach it down with a zip tie so this probe can't possibly move, and then it sets right there on the heat. And when you set your tank temperature to 90, that's what it's going to be. That's what the probe is going to read. That probe start to cool off yet? Yeah, 85.1, and you can see it's calling for more power. So that's kind of how that thing will work. All right. So my review of HERPSTAT is just buy one. You know, there are other thermostats out there too that a lot of other people swear by and use. You know, there's Vivarium Electronics and a few other ones that make a good product. But I like these guys. I like these guys because you have the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 6. So you can kind of control what you do. You can kind of step up as you go. They fit anywhere. They look cool. I love the power features of the maximum power. They're even made to actually stack if you were so inclined. I've never personally done that, but you can. My big thing though is definitely being able to set that power limit. And I don't know if other thermostats let you do that. Maybe they do, but I know these guys do. You can also get special probes for the 2 and the 4 and the 6 that you can control humidity on a misting system, which is out of this world as well if you wanted to do so. So they're just extremely versatile. They're price competitive with any of the other major brands that are out there. And I think bang for the buck, you got it made. They have a replaceable fuse. If they do blow a fuse, which I have seen happen, not on mine, but somebody else's, and you simply snap in a new fuse and they were back running like that. So Spider Robotics, HERPSTAT, built a hell of a thermostat. I trust my incubator to it. I trust my babies to it. I trust all my snakes to it. And I would recommend this to anybody looking for a high-end thermostat. Kurt, you got any questions?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. It's been a fun day wiring up a new thermostat. But the cool thing is now, with that one, that literally frees up 2 thermostats currently. I'm thinking, well, geez, that's great. You know, because I still have one HERPSTAT over here controlling that rack. I have a HERPSTAT controlling these 2 racks. One of these is going to have to go to control these 2 racks when they start going, and the other one will go to control a setup in my office that we're working on. So they're both going to get used, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So I'm really excited about that. All right, there's no other questions. We'll get off of here. And like I say, there is no point, okay, there is no point in having, Kurt, what's your favorite snake right now? Oh, we like this one. We'll show off this guy. There is no point in having really nice snakes and sitting there and saying, hey, I really care for my animals, you know, and then not using a thermostat. Now, I'm not going to say that you have to use, you know, the most high-end thermostat in the world or you don't care for your animals. But I will say this, you know, if you're going to run a bunch of snakes, this is about the best bang for the buck because of what all it can do and what all it can control. And if you care about your animals, you got to provide them ample heat, right? That's just what reptiles need, and this is the best way of controlling that I know. All right, Kurt, that's all we got. We'll hop up off here. We'll say goodbye to our Tarfino. And his name is Helios, by the way. Anything else?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next